There are moments in life when you don't simply feel tired. You feel defeated. You tried. You believed. You gave everything you had. And somehow, things still fell apart. Maybe you lost a job you thought you would keep. Maybe someone you loved walked away. Maybe a dream you spent years building suddenly disappeared. And when that happens, the hardest question is not, why did I fail? It is, who am I now? Because failure doesn't only break plans. Sometimes it makes us question ourselves. But what if falling apart is not the end of your story? What if it is the moment you begin building yourself again? We live in a world that celebrates the finished product. We see successful people after the struggle. We see the achievement, the wealth, the confidence, the beautiful ending. But we rarely see the nights they cried. We rarely see the applications that were rejected, the businesses that failed, the relationships that ended, the mornings when they didn't know whether they had enough strength to try again. And that's why we sometimes believe that strong people never fall. But that's not strength. Strength is falling and refusing to let the fall become your identity. A famous saying is often attributed to Confucius. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Commonly attributed to Confucius, the attribution, however, is disputed. The earliest documented version comes from Oliver Goldsmith's The Citizen of the World, 1762, spoken by a fictional Chinese philosopher. But regardless of who first wrote those words, the message remains powerful. Because life is not asking you to become someone who never falls. Life is asking you to become someone who knows how to rise. The problem is that after failure, many people make one dangerous mistake. They confuse what happened to them with who they are. You failed an exam, so you think, I'm stupid. Your business failed, so you think, I'm not capable. Someone rejected you, so you think, I'm not worthy of love. You made a terrible decision, so you think, I'm a terrible person. But there is a difference between saying, I failed, and saying, I am a failure. The first describes an event. The second creates an identity. And when you turn a painful event into an identity, you give yesterday permission to control tomorrow. Imagine a man named Daniel. For 10 years, Daniel worked toward one dream, building his own small company. He sacrificed weekends. He worked late. He turned down vacations. He believed that one day all the effort would be worth it. And then, almost overnight, the company collapsed. The money disappeared, the investors left, the employees moved on, and Daniel was left sitting alone in his apartment, staring at a laptop he no longer wanted to open. For weeks, he barely told anyone what had happened. Whenever someone asked, how is the business going? He simply said, I'm figuring things out. But inside, he wasn't figuring anything out. He was grieving. He wasn't only grieving the company, he was grieving the version of himself he thought he was supposed to become. One morning, Daniel finally admitted something to himself. I didn't lose my entire life. I lost one version of it. That realization changed everything. He stopped asking, how do I get my old life back? And started asking, what can I build from what remains? He took a temporary job. He began studying what had gone wrong. He contacted former colleagues. He started again, this time with less arrogance and more wisdom. His second attempt was smaller, but it was better. Because the first version of Daniel wanted to prove that he could succeed. The second version simply wanted to build something meaningful, and that difference mattered. Sometimes failure takes away the illusion that we had everything under control, and strangely enough, that can become a gift. When everything is going well, we rarely question ourselves, but when life breaks our plans, we are forced to look deeper. What actually matters? Who actually matters? What kind of person do I want to become? What did this experience teach me? What will I never repeat again? These questions hurt, but they can also rebuild you. Because resilience is not pretending that the pain doesn't exist. Resilience is allowing the pain to teach you without allowing it to destroy you. You don't have to wake up tomorrow and feel powerful. You don't have to suddenly become optimistic. Sometimes rising simply means getting out of bed, taking a shower, answering one email, making one phone call, going for one walk, trying one more time. Small steps count. A person doesn't rebuild a life in one dramatic moment. They rebuild it through hundreds of ordinary decisions. A new perspective, so perhaps we should stop asking, why did this happen to me? And sometimes begin asking, what can I become because this happened? Notice the difference. One question keeps you trapped in the past. The other gives you a future. Your pain may not have been your choice, but what you do with it can become your choice. Maybe you cannot change what happened, but you can change what happens next. There will be a day when you realize something important. You survived the thing you once believed would destroy you. And suddenly the pain that sometimes made you feel weak becomes evidence of your strength. You look back and realize, that rejection didn't end me. That failure didn't end me. That heartbreak didn't end me. That embarrassing mistake didn't end me. I was hurt, I was lost, I was afraid, but I kept going. And that is where your real strength begins, not when life becomes easy, but when you discover that you can continue even when life isn't. So if life has broken something inside you, don't rush to hide the cracks. Learn from them. If you failed, study the failure. If you made a mistake, take responsibility for it. If someone left, allow yourself to grieve. If a dream ended, give yourself permission to imagine a new one. And if you are starting over, don't be ashamed. Starting over does not mean you are back at zero. You are starting again with experience, with lessons, with scars, with wisdom you didn't have before. You are not the same person who fell, and that may be the greatest gift hidden inside the fall. Today, take a piece of paper and write down 3 things. First, what broke me? Be honest. Second, what did it teach me? Don't write what you wish it had taught you. Write what you actually learned. Third, what is one small thing I can do next? Not 10 things, not a complete life transformation, just one. Send the message. Apply for the position. Start exercising again. Open the book. Make the call. Forgive yourself. Begin. Because you don't need to rebuild your entire life today. You only need to lay the first brick, then another, and another. Until one day, you look around and realize you built something stronger than what you lost. Reflection, remember this. You are allowed to fall. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to be confused. You are allowed to need time. But don't confuse a difficult chapter with the entire story. Your life is still being written. And the chapter you're living today may be painful, but it is not necessarily the final chapter. Maybe your greatest chapter is still ahead. Message. So if you are watching this while feeling broken, I want you to remember one thing. You are not finished. You may be tired. You may be disappointed. You may not know what comes next. But you are still here, and as long as you are still here, there is still something you can build. Rise slowly if you have to. Rise afraid if you must. Rise with tears in your eyes. Rise without knowing exactly where you're going. Just rise, because your greatest achievement may not be avoiding the fall. It may be becoming someone who knows how to stand again. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to share it with someone who may need to hear it today. And if you're rebuilding your life after a difficult chapter, remember, you don't have to rebuild everything at once. One day, one decision, one step, one brick at a time. Your story isn't over. You are simply building the next chapter. Thank you for taking the time to listen and for staying with me until the end of this video. May you always keep a peaceful mind, a lighter heart, and plenty of joy in your life. I wish you a day filled with peace, happiness, and success. And if today's message touched something within you, join me as we continue discovering meaningful lessons in the videos to come. I'll see you in the next video.